Hi, I'm Kimbu, the host of the Author Alchemist podcast. I bring my years of experience as a fan fiction writer, a professionally published author, and a productivity coach to the problem we all love to hate, the act of writing. I also talk a lot about self-publishing, marketing, and my own challenges and journey as an author. Maybe you can relate? Hey y'all, it's Kimbu, and I'm back with another episode of The Author Alchemist, which I haven't had an episode in a little while, so I'm sorry if I've been MIA here for a bit, just a bit. So what have I been doing? I've been working on marketing, writing, appearing on other people's podcasts, working on the Around the Writer's Table podcast, keeping up with the 1 Million Words Club, which is part of what we're going to be talking about here today. Because one of the things that comes up again and again in the interviews that I'm doing on my book, By the Seat of Your Pants, Secrets of Discovery Writing, is how intuition plays into discovery writing as a technique. And spoiler, it plays into it a lot. Like, you need intuition if you're going to be doing successful early drafts of discovery writing. Like, I don't think you need to be an already proficient author, with creds to your name to use discovery writing as a technique. But for authors who do have a lot of skill, a lot of experience, and a lot of honed intuition, then it's going to be easier for them to write a story using discovery writing. They're not going to go down so many dead-end alleyways in the course of their story. And I certainly don't think that intuition is entirely just study of craft. Becca Syme, I always mention her book, Dear Writer, Are You Intuitive? Because it's really worth a read. It's very accessible. It's not very long. I read it over the course of a couple of days in bits and pieces, and it shined a light in for me about what intuition is and why it's so useful for writers. Because if you've done a lot of studying, if you've imbibed a lot of stories, whether it's watching movies, listening to audiobooks, reading short stories, reading magazines, exposure as well as study counts a lot, and of course, experience. There's no making up for lack of experience. And it's a little bit old hat these days to to use the analogy of sports or athletes. Nobody's going to play a perfect game if they haven't ever played it before. It doesn't matter how many times they've watched the game on TV or read books about it or whatever. You've actually got to build up the muscle memory. Is the brain a muscle? I am not a biologist. I'm not here to make those types of arguments, but it does need to be exercised. I mean, that's what we tell them. You do exercises to learn how to write. You need to build up that mental muscle, and you need to do it in a wide variety of ways, but critically important is writing itself. You gotta write. And I think one of the things that gets lost a lot of times is people spend so much time studying the craft and reading about it and hacking apart their stories and the act structure and beats and all that sort of stuff that they kind of forget that they need to just keep writing. You need to keep writing. I've talked before, I think it's been a little while ago now, actually, about the 10,000 hours to perfect for mastery, 10,000 hours for mastery of a skill set. It's been debunked over time. There's arguments about it. Is it exactly 10,000 hours? Is it 20 hours? Is the hours can't matter? It's the intensity of the effort. Whatever. Let's just use it as a rule of thumb, okay? Because if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you're not going to be terrible at it. You're going to be proficient at it. You may not have I don't know, I'm just thinking of golf here. Like, you may not have the best swing, you may not score well, but you will be able to play several games of golf and do pretty well for yourself, I think. Because usually nobody's going to spend that much time investing themselves in a pastime, hobby, professional pursuit without studying it as well. It kind of goes hand in hand. The thing about writing, and I keep trying to hit home with people, is that, well, how do you measure hours for writing? Well, ideation, a lot of us spend a lot of time thinking about what we're working on. We talk about it with our friends. We write blog posts about it. We send emails to each other. We meet in craft and critique groups to talk about what we're working on. There are online forums. Does any of that count to the 10,000 hours? Or is it just the time you spend with your fingers on the keyboard or your mouth on microphone creating the story? It's very fuzzy and it's very hard to track. So what I came up with out of my own experiences was the 1 million word mark. And some people hear about the 1 million word mark and they think like that's the goal, like that's you're trying to reach this mark, and it's kind of like the 10,000 hours. It's less important than the effort that you're putting in, but it's a good way to measure the effort that you're putting in. If you've only ever written 50,000 words, well, congratulations, you've written 50,000 words, and maybe you've bled over every single one of those words. And that's amazing. And maybe you wrote several great short stories. I'm not here to slam the 50,000 words that you've written, but what I am here to say is that's the start of your journey. Writing 50,000 words isn't any sign of good or bad other than you're doing the work. I picked 1 million words because it's a nice round number. It floats off the tongue, but also it's not small. For people who actually start writing seriously, whether they do it every day, whether they do it once a week, I don't care what exactly the length of time you commit to it or when you do, but what you will end up doing is building on that number, and you will get to 50,000 words pretty quickly, quicker than you think. Even if they're not 50,000 words, like people are like, well, my novel's 50,000 words. Yeah, but oftentimes people will write like 75,000 to 100,000 words along the way. They write scenes, they get rid of those scenes, they rewrite those scenes. So you're going to be writing a lot more than the final number, right? And it's so easy to get to 50,000 words. I know if you haven't gotten to 50,000 words yet, you might think, well, not really. But really, the 50,000 word hump is just the first hump. Once you get there, you're at 100,000 words, and suddenly you're at 200,000 words. And suddenly 1 million words doesn't seem that unreasonable, doesn't seem that impossible. I encourage you to aim for 1 million words, not because there is a special mystical power to that number, or because it's a contest and you're there to beat other people to get there faster, harder, more wordier. I invite you to aim for 1 million words for your own sake, for the sake of your craft. Because the more you practice it, along with the studying that you're doing, along with the critiques that you get and that you give, the edits that you go through, whether it's just you and Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, or you and an editor, you and beta readers, every single one of those steps is going to make you a better writer, but none of them matter as much as actually writing. Which is how I came up with the 1 million words club. This is a minor pitch for it. I don't think it's necessary for me to, like, if you don't join my club, then you're not going to make one. Like, that's ridiculous. No. But the 1 million words club is a membership community on Discord that I started so that people could start investing in the act of writing outside of external commitments. It's not about deadlines. It's not about daily word counts, for instance. It's not focused on professional authors, nor is it focused on amateur writers. It's for anybody who wants to improve their craft. Our tagline for both this podcast and for the 1 Million Words Club on Discord is mindset, process, and productivity. That's our focus. There's a lot of places where you can focus on craft. And yes, of course, we talk about craft in the 1 Million Words Club. But our focus, nose to the grindstone, we're trying to get words out. Some people have, health issues that they can only write a few hundred words a week. Some people are professional authors who are trying to crank out 1,000+ words every day. And some people are just, dilettantes. They just want to get better at what they're doing. And I mean that in a non-judgmental way. I'm just saying that they're people who don't have a big mission for their writing. They just enjoy writing. They just find it a wonderful hobby or pastime, and they want to get better at it. And that's also very valid in the 1 Million Words Club because, as I said, there's no judgment on how you're getting to that mark. It's all about aiming for it. It's all about putting yourself in a place where you will be writing as much as you can write in order to improve your craft. So you don't have to join the 1 Million Words Club. You'd be welcome. I'll include information in the show notes about it. But I want you to focus either in isolation, with your writing groups, with the 1 Million Words Club, on aiming high with your word count, because that is the pedal to the metal, as they say, nose to the grindstone, whatever we want to use it as. That is what is going to make you a better writer. When you get to 1 million words, and I say this from experience, you have much better understanding of your process, your creative journey. You will have a good hold on your authorial voice. You'll know things like what points of view you prefer writing in and what tense is more comfortable, past tense, present tense, things like that. Some authors just naturally fall into using one of those specifically for all of their work. Others go back and forth. But see, you'll know that about yourself. It won't be a mystery. You won't be saying, well, I've never written anything in first person. Because to get to 1 million words, you have to try a lot of different things. And you are going to try a lot of different things and write to a lot of different prompts and go through different challenges and hit deadlines. And whether it's fan fiction, professional, original fiction, journaling, memoir, poems, poetry, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're committed to the work itself. And that is what 1 million words is all about as a goal. That wasn't specifically about discovery writing, but since I've been talking about this issue and it comes up a lot when I am talking about discovery writing, I thought it would be a good podcast episode to focus on for this. Getting back into the grind of doing podcast episodes for the Author Alchemist. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Always feel free. I need more coffee. Always feel free to reach out to me. And as I say in my daily Coffee with Kimbu shorts here on YouTube, I hope you get done everything you need to get done today. Take care. Have a good day, y'all. And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about writing here on the Author Alchemist podcast. I'm Kimbu York, and I hope this episode has helped clear away the cobwebs from your inspiration. You can find all of my things at houseofyork.info. All one word, House of York, no spaces, .info. Have a lovely day, and we'll talk again soon.